welcome to issue 248 of Critical Encounters, a podcast about Marvel Champions, a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games. Here we take a good look at that most critical piece of the game, the encounter sets. We'll discuss those poorly understood characters, unfairly labeled villains, and their various plans to shape humanity and benefit the planet, as well as those so-called heroes intent on thwarting them. I'm one of your hosts, Lexicon, and with me is Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Scott. Hello. Am I menacing enough? Threatening?
No threatening.
Wow.
Okay.
And also with us is Daniel.
Well, I'm a little creeped out. Steve, you frightened me.
Was it ominous or foreboding?
Oh my goodness, it was so
ominous.
So ominous, and one could almost say sinister.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
Okay. Sorry, everyone.
Last but most certainly not least, because I'm here, it's Mike.
Hey, Scott.
That was good.
I do believe that you have officially read the introduction more than I have now.
But until he reads the outro more than you, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
Good to see you again, Scott.
It's good to be here. It's good to see you too, Mike. Proverbially see you.
Yeah. Okay, well, enough of that nonsense. Daniel, what's on your mind?
Oh, Mike, thanks. I'm so excited for what's on my mind tonight.
And it's definitely not nonsense, right?
It is not in any way nonsense. In fact, it is concise, to the point, brilliant, just wisdom. That's what I got for you. And it comes in the form of stars, specifically 5 of them, gentlemen. On September 27th, presumably of this year,
Yes.
Iskander 4000 wrote us a 5-star review, subject, yay. All right, now, gentlemen, please buckle up because I've got a lot to read for his review. Their review. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so yay, 5 stars. Here we go. Good job.
That's it.
That's it. Iskander 4000. That is the greatest. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
God. That is so good.
Thanks for the review. Glad you're liking it.
What makes it the best for me is the title of yay.
Yay. No punctuation, no like exclamation point. So there's no emotion behind it. Yeah, that's great.
Yay.
Hey, 5
Good
stars
job.
though. That's the important part.
There's the emotion right there.
That's the metrics that we need. Yeah.
And it could be a robot. I mean, it is Iskander 4000. It could be some Android model we don't know about.
Oh, right.
That's
Right.
true.
Yeah.
Craig has friends.
It could be.
So what I want to say, Daniel, is
Yeah.
We need other folks to go out and write similar reviews. Can you write a review better than Iskander 4000? I bet you can't. Prove me wrong. Go out, rate, and review us. Huh? Yeah. Give it a try.
Can you say even more with even less?
Even less. Yes.
Even
Or can
less.
you say the opposite? Can you say even less with more?
I think, that's something I could do. Maybe I'll review us. I can go like paragraphs and paragraphs, not actually saying anything.
Yes, remember, Daniel, that verbosity is not a good supplement for wit.
Oh, well, I wish I
I
knew
thought
that.
it was.
I wish I knew that years earlier.
This would be a much different show.
Yeah. Woo, boy.
Wow. So who let Scott back in again?
He's still here from last week. He never left.
Oh,
What are we
Yeah, well,
doing?
you closed the door in my face, and I don't know how to work the newfangled handles you put on the doors.
Well, all you have to do is put not an exit, not an entrance on the door. He can't figure out which way to go. We're good.
It's because I changed the sign to say push instead of pull.
Right.
brilliant.
There you go. Yep. Well, we're not here just for wonderful Apple podcast reviews. Daniel, we are going to look into some lore again because we're doing Mister Sinister Part 2. And if folks remember last week, we had a real sympathetic humanizing look at Mr. Sinister or Nathaniel Essex. You said, hold on, wait a second.
Well, yeah,
Maybe we should
yeah.
look at it from a different point of view.
Yeah, Steve, I'm going to confess, I got a little caught up in our intro, and especially when someone like Scott reads it with that voice, and I waxed a little sympathetic towards this most intense and profoundly prolific villain in the lore. But
I think everything you had set up until the Nazi part, I thought, we were okay.
yeah,
but then you mentioned that, and it's like, oh, darn it.
It's just always Nazis.
Yeah.
And this guy was born like 100 years before Nazis, and he still figured out a way.
Yeah. He knew better by that time.
Yeah. So, I waxed a little poetic, but at the end I did say, like, we're going to need maybe correct the record a little bit, because the truth is that no one, I don't think, maybe Thanos, sort of, but no one has caused as much misery and suffering in the world as Mr. Sinister over his 2 centuries. So, his desire for a genetic evolution and his striving for a master race of humans echoes dismally through our very real history as a species. And Sinister, he felt no compunction whatsoever over the cruelty of his work. He twisted individuals into monsters, unrecognizable creatures, just to further his own work. Twisted, too, was the logic behind it all. Like, if his subjects died, fine. Those that lived proved the importance and the possibility of his work. So these genetic experiments, his palling around with Dr. Mengele in his concentration camp, his implacable earnestness to achieve the goal of immortality through genetic superiority, they wove together to create an incredible tapestry of sadism, cruelty, and torture for over 100 years. Now, we talked about the grief of losing his wife, but Steve, I think you brought it up last week, right? She never forgave him for what he did to their child, which was kind of the start of all this stuff. Like the child was born ill, and he was doing things that, he was trying to save the kid, but it was creepy, weird, sinister stuff. And her last words before dying were to let him know what she thought of him and his work and his very self. She's the one who named him Sinister. So as years stretched into decades, Sinister's humanity begins to erode. He no longer saw himself even as Nathaniel Essex, the grieving man who once sought to cure disease. No, he was Mister Sinister, an immortal being who had become disconnected from the suffering of those he experimented on. His lab was his temple, his creations his children, and to him they were little more than tools for his own demented vision. What remained of Nathaniel Essex's moral compass had long been buried under layers of arrogance, intellectual superiority, an unshakable belief in his own right to reshape humanity and benefit the planet. Have you heard that before? It sounds familiar somehow, but he was no longer capable of seeing his actions as anything but justified, even when the pain he caused could not be measured. To him, the ends always justified the means. If lives had to be sacrificed for the sake of his perfect future, so be it. So I just didn't want to sugarcoat his evil, trivialize his enormous capacity for causing suffering, keep him a sympathetic figure. He's too far gone for that. You can check the books. Steve, you're going to give us, I'm sure, a ton of comics that we can go to just to see how completely twisted and awful this guy is. He's an obsessive, immoral, dispassionately consumed figure. And like a bunch of our so-called villains, his roots kind of maybe make him relatable. His initial drive didn't have to ultimately turn to the evil machinations that they did. He was a poor genius, lifting himself up by his own bootstraps, holding with the greatest Victorian minds. But his curiosity, his grief, his guilt, they're a toxic soup that quickly poisoned him. There's so many stories to dive into to really witness this profound evil. So, Steve, I'm glad that you're here, that you've got a bookshelf for us to peruse. Take it away.
I do, but do we have anything? Daniel, you always have such wonderful backstories. Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah.
This one could have been 47 pages long if I just talked about a story thread about
anything
anything he does. It's always a long story, and it's usually kind of gross, but just his stuff with the mutant massacre and the guys in the sewers, he's just awful. So yeah, I don't want last week people to think that we're Sinisterites, Sinister Files. Because no, this guy's horrible. he might be the horriblest of them all that we've talked about.
That's pretty.
You know?
Crossbones was pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean Red Skull, a lot of the Hydra guys.
Yeah, but I just don't think
their
their reach and longevity is quite the same.
That's
oh
true.
yeah, the continued evil. Some of them are shorter lived.
Of this, and like kind of the wake of his destruction is maybe bigger as well. Like what's left behind.
So speaking of bigger or the length here, the wake of it all.
Yeah.
If you're interested in reading about Sinister, you can. He's behind the Mutant Massacre. So if you go read Mutant Massacre, right, that's a whole next evolution box that we're in right now. So that makes sense. Find the Mutant Massacre storylines. Get a good start there. His stories continue in the Inferno storyline, like right afterwards, starting with the Uncanny X-Men number 239. So he's heavily involved in all the Inferno storylines. So if you want to read about him, he's in there. And then you just kind of keep on going. Uncanny X-Men number 270, he's involved in the Extinction Agenda storyline. So, even more sinister. The Executioner's song. Of course, this is X dash, the rest of the word, right? That one you start with Cable, Blood, and Mental number 1. You can go into Uncanny X-Men number 294. So if you start the Mutant Massacre, whenever that one is, or even Inferno storyline 239, just read the next 60-some issues, and you're going to get plenty of Sinister.
You got your Sinister on.
Right. You pick up an X book, and he's going to be involved in it. At least an X-Men book. Maybe not the Factors and Forces and stuff, but definitely the X-Men one. Like I said, so he's in X-Men: A Skinning of Souls. That's X-Men number 17 when they start to like renumber them. He's also in the X-Men Wedding of Cyclops and Phoenix because he can't get enough of the Summers. Yes, he cannot get enough of Scott Summers.
He's got a Summers thing for sure. Right. Ooh, and it's always creepy.
Yep. And that's X-Men 26. So again, you just start X-Men 17 and keep on going. Anything with the Age of Apocalypse, he's tied up with Apocalypse. Part of his origin story is Apocalypse, and then all that stuff in the early 2000s. There's a bunch of things that you can read about him and how he interacts with Apocalypse during the Age of Apocalypse storylines.
He does really Apocalypse dirty.
Yeah. What's that, Scott?
I said he really knows how to pick them.
Yes. Yeah.
Scientists at Auschwitz, Apocalypse,
Yeah. So I think if you really want to look at his origins, you want to see Nathaniel Essex. You want to sympathize a little bit with him. You want to hear last week's stuff, where he gets his start, how it happens, and who's ultimately responsible for the way he evolves. You need to pick up or go find in Marvel Unlimited. It's a 4-part series called The Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, X-Men number 1, June 1996. It's a 4-part series flashback. Cyclops and Phoenix get teleported through time by the Ascani, which you'll recognize from Cable stuff, and you see Nathaniel Essex and how they interact with him. Apocalypse is involved, and in the end, is it his fault or is it Scott and Jean's fault that he is the way he is? It's interesting. Okay. In this flashback, it's one of those like who maybe he's his own grandpa, maybe they're responsible for for trying to do something, but they're not. It's a weird thing going on with the flashback, and that's one of these like they wrote that probably after, right? This is a written later on kind of thing, so very interesting though. So I definitely suggest that one, The Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, and then he's involved in Secret Wars, House of X, Messiah Complex. He's in everything, so it's not hard to find a book with him in it. That's it. That's the bookshelf. If there's an X-Men on it, just pull it off and you'll find Sinister eventually.
And there's a lot of good YouTube videos about his backstory and stuff. I definitely those, and I mean, you can definitely like kind of go down a Sinister rabbit hole because there's so much, and he's involved in so many different types of storylines. But what I think is really cool is that he maintains sort of his character arc and like consistency throughout them all.
Right.
Like So in that way, his agenda is not ever really changing.
Mm.
Sometimes his methods to achieve it do, but I appreciate that in a somewhat inconsistent that the Marvel universe can be.
I do wonder if his wife had forgiven him, if things would have continued. Like, there's a point where he snaps. Like, in one of it, he races back because he realizes he's been wrong, and he goes back, but she can't forgive all the terrible things he's already done. And so I am curious, or if Apocalypse had not shown up, what might have happened. So there's a few what ifs there.
I mean, at that time, man, if Darwin is calling you coconuts, I don't know. I think you're too far gone.
Maybe.
You know,
he definitely becomes too far gone. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a moment of hope for him.
His scientific interest from the get-go was a little bit diabolical. So it was a seed that could grow kind of one direction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're looking for reading order or anything like that, I found a great website. I will link it. It's called comicbookherald.com. And they have a, comicbookherald.com / Mister Sinister reading order. But I'll link it. So you can find a lot of great reading orders for a lot of different characters. And they'll bounce you around, give you big parts and things like that. So if you're looking for stuff.
And it's not always chronological. It's other ways and stuff too.
They'll help you with where there's crossovers and the big things that sometimes you look on, I don't know, wiki, and it'll be like their first appearance is in issue 6.
Yeah.
And they don't really appear in issue 6, right? They're on the last page and it's a shadow of them. This guy kind of doesn't do that sort of stuff to you. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great resource. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Daniel.
Well, we're not just here to talk about books and evil people. What else?
We're going to talk about cards and evil people.
Oh, okay.
So,
my favorite combination.
Yeah. That's what we're here for. So we're going to take a look at Mister Sinister, 4th scenario in the next evolution box. Like we said before, it requires flight, super strength, telepathy, Hope Summers. They suggest the Nasty Boys, 17 total cards, 13 by title. And tonight we're going to look at the last 7 encounter cards. Okay, so before we talk about the encounter cards, let's do a quick recap of last week, how he functions. Scott, I'm going to put you on the spot. Give us the 30-second pitch of Mister Sinister's encounter that we talked about last week.
All right, Mister Sinister's encounter. So he has several side schemes, and he also has several modular encounter sets, flight, telepathy, and super strength. And as you move through his schemes, so the first scheme is going to kick off straight into his experimentation, and every time he schemes out, you're going to reveal a new superpower trait, so flight or super strength. And then the final one will kick over into his eventual goal of gene mastery, and he'll defeat you. So you have to both manage the threat as he's trying to develop his superpowers while also attacking him. But some of the tricks with Sinister is that anytime he gets a status card, like a tough, a confused, or a stun, he's going to put threat on the main scheme, which varies per player based on what stage he is, whether he's stage 1, 2, or 3. And then every time he flips from one hero form to the next, so if he goes to stage 2 from stage 1, he's also going to place 2 threat on the main scheme. 1 threat if he already has 2 superpower attachments, but chances are he doesn't have that yet. So he puts a lot of threat on his schemes really fast to push his ability to develop those superpowers. So you're likely going to be facing him with at least 1, if not 2, of those modular sets wrapped up in his main encounter set.
Right. Multiple main schemes that have very low threat thresholds that when they advance give him additional abilities like retaliate and overkill and steady and things like that.
That's right. Yep.
All
yeah,
right.
it's five per player on the experimentation side schemes. There's 3 of them. You remove 1, so you won't have to fight one of those things at random, so you don't know which ones you're going to be facing. So you'll get either telepathy and super strength, or super strength and flight, or flight and telepathy. So it kind of depends on how that works out. And then stage 3, I think, is 7 threat per player, if I'm remembering correctly.
Close enough.
Close enough.
It is 7, yeah. Okay,
It's
so that
not-
makes sense. We know where we're at.
Identical
So
is
now,
close.
yeah. All right. So now let's take a look at these cards. I feel like I haven't heard from Mike. Maybe he's in disguise. Maybe you should read the first card, Mike.
I've been in the corner pretending I'm just a chair.
Oh, okay. Very sinister.
It's not because I have no idea what you guys are talking about because I missed last week. No idea at all. Sinister Disguise is a condition attached to Mister Sinister. Forced Interrupt. When a player would deal damage to Mister Sinister, that player may spend 2 mental resources. If they do not, they deal that damage to the friendly character with the fewest remaining hit points instead. Discard this card whether the resources were spent or not. And it has 2 boost icons. So, great way to kill Deadpool, hey?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's also a great way to accidentally eliminate hope.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Okay, so you attack Sinister. You don't have 2 mental resources.
And if you're not a nerd, oof.
Yeah, the
You probably
damage
don't.
goes to a friendly character with the fewest remaining hit points instead, and then it goes away because you've seen through the disguise once you've punched whoever it is.
That's right.
Daniel, last week you mentioned how he gets all these teaching jobs, but he has that thing in his head. Oh, does he? Look at this disguise.
Look at this. Yeah.
The disguise looks an awful lot like Stark's dad. Is it just me? Does it not look like his dad?
This guy's got less
comics.
hair than
Yeah, well, in the
Stark's
comics, his dad, I think, is bald, right?
dad. Oh, okay.
So
I could be wrong.
So basically, you just don't touch Mister Sinister until someone's got 2 nerd resources, right?
Right.
That's right.
Or
As long as you have someone weaker than Hope Summers. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's one of the heroes that you end up killing. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Daniel, call for actions, would you?
Okay, Mike, what do you got? Yeah.
Your
that's
Hulk,
awesome.
your Hulk ally, your Hulk, partner at the table definitely should not Hulk smash while this is still on the.
Yeah.
on Sinister.
yeah, that's true.
Swinging web kick. Okay.
It's great. It's great.
Daniel, what do you think of Sinister Disguise?
I love it. I absolutely love it. So
I think it's better than pretending to be a chair.
Depends on who sits down.
That's
Yep.
true.
Uh,
Oh boy.
They never did explain how he caught Hope. Who knows?
just a
Let's move
barker
on.
Lounger. Oh boy.
What were you going to say about Sinister's disguise, Daniel?
I'm sorry, what?
What were you going to say about it? I think I cut you off.
No, I just really like it. It's a roadblock. Anything like this that could slow you down for a long time, or you get so frustrated not being able to hurt the guy that you actually just do something like kill Squirrel Girl. So yeah, I like it. What were you gonna make me do, Steve?
Well, since you told us all about Sinister, why don't you tell us about the next card?
Oh, well, there's 2 of these, Steve. They are his minions, the Sinister Soldiers, who have 1 scheme and 1 attack, maybe more. They are clone traded with 5 health. The Sinister Soldier gets +1 scheme and +1 attack for each superpower attachment on Mister Sinister. They have a special boost, which is for this activation. Mister Sinister gets +1 scheme and +1 attack for each superpower attachment on him.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a heck of a boost.
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's always
it's-
going to have 1 attached to him, right?
Yep.
And then,
Yeah.
These guys are always 2/2.
Yeah. And then he could have 2 attached to him. Like we said earlier, you remove 1 from the game at the beginning, so the most this is going to be is +2 boost, and the soldiers would be a 3/3, which is still pretty nice.
Sure. Now,
That's right.
Steve, are there mod sets that have other superpower attachments? And they just go on villains randomly?
Well, isn't that a great question?
Only in counter cards? Yes, there's a whole bunch.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are in actual.
Yeah, and Sabanur.
There's a ton in Apocalypse's sets.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. There is. Oh no, life drain only attaches to a minion.
Minion. Yeah, I was going to say Sauron's the only other one.
Yeah.
So, nope. Daniel answers no.
So these poor guys are maxed at 3/3. Oh well.
I mean, I do like how they're clones of him, and if he has superpowers, they're getting boosts. But I think that's a good theme there.
Team win. Absolutely.
All right, let's move on. Mike, this happened to Mike last week, so I think you have to take this side scheme.
Oh, okay. Teleported away. This is a side scheme with no flavor text. Hinder 1 per player, starts with 3 threat. Mister Sinister cannot take damage.
Oh,
This has a crisis icon. Get it? Because you've been teleported away.
Hmm.
That's right.
Forced interrupt. When Mister Sinister would attack, he schemes instead, and it has 2 boost icons.
but
I
we
think
don't-
this is a funny card.
But we don't want him scheming.
Yeah, this is a really
Exactly.
funny card.
Well, we want him scheming, but the heroes definitely don't. Yeah, I think Sinister's teleported away, right? He's gone through the portal. Boof.
Correct.
You can't get to him,
Oh.
so you can't damage him. He's off doing his thing. And the crisis is you got to track him down while he's busy, upgrading himself. So
This card, I mean, effectively stops the hero's game until they get rid of it, right? You can't attack Sinister. He can't take damage. You can attack him, but it doesn't hurt him. And
okay.
you can't remove threat from the scheme, from the main scheme.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like you can't do anything
And
until
that's
you
a
get rid of it.
clock. You do not want to let that sit there because he is on a
No.
clock that you don't want ticking down.
And he schemes for a lot. He's one of those
Mhm.
high scheme characters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he could have the telepathy, which gives him even higher scheme. Yeah.
You,
Yeah, this is
you
a
got
great
You
card.
got to play him multiplayer, or you're done.
Yeah, he's a challenge solo.
I wish this had Hinder 2. I think Hinder 1 is not enough threat on it.
You're a real
I
villain.
would-
Scott.
I'd rather-
I love it.
I would rather see it start with like two threat and Hinder 2, so it's still 4 for solo, but more for multiplayer.
Hmm.
Because I feel like with 3 players, there's only 6 threat on this. It's like, you just knock it out real quick, and then you can go back to doing what you're doing.
I can
I
get
feel like
behind
it should be a little bit harder to like track down somebody who literally teleported away right in front of your faces. It's like, where did he go? He's over there in the corner. Like, is kind of how
Right.
it feels, because it doesn't stay out on the table. Obviously, you have to get rid of it. So
Yeah, but because of that, it's a waste of time to other things.
it is. It is.
So, I mean, that's what all the encounter set does, right? It's just little speed bumps.
Yeah.
So,
And thematically, he has to stay in his lab, according to the.
That's true.
Right. He's got to go to another tank. He's just a room over. He's not that far
It's
away.
just a room over. That's true.
Yeah.
I wish it was more than like one card from the Justice player to clear this, I guess.
Yeah, that's
is my
true.
point.
That's true.
sure.
Oh my gosh, where'd he go? He's over there. Oh, okay.
Thanks,
He's
Yellow.
downstairs.
Yeah.
Hello. Go get him, Red.
Oh boy.
Oh, golly.
All right.
Well, Steve,
Scott. Oh,
whose
go
turn
ahead.
is it? Scott?
Yeah, Mike read 2 somehow. I messed
All
that
right.
up. So yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
I just went with it.
yeah.
You want to take this one, Steve?
Sure. All right. This is a treachery. There are 2 of them. A genetic mastery. When revealed, if Mister Sinister has the following traits: Aerial, take 2 indirect damage. Brute, exhaust your identity. Psionic, place 2 threat on the main scheme, and has 2 boost icons. Well, we already said he's going to have one of these no matter what, and he could have 2.
Mhm.
He'll never have all 3. I don't think he'll ever have all 3. At least not as suggested to be played. So
Yeah.
he's dealing some damage. He's exhausting your identity. He's putting threat on the main scheme. I think Psionic's probably the worst one because that pushes him that much
Yep.
faster. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think this is great.
yeah, it's
Exhaust your identity and take 2 indirect damage. That's pretty harsh for a
Now,
treachery.
cool. The exhaust part, you may already be exhausted because you're defending.
True.
So that one might, not do as much because if he's brute, he has overkill. I think is the right. No, that's aerial. He's aerial. He's overkill. Yeah, I mean you might be exhausted. That's the only one. But the other 2 are definitely doing something to you. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's good art too. I really like the. It's like Wolverine and Cyclops and Jean Grey. Maybe that's Shadowcat, maybe, or Storm in the middle. Hard to tell. Nightcrawler, and he's like pulling their
Yeah.
DNA down into some machine or something. That's cool. Looks neat.
It is really, really cool art. I
Yeah.
agree.
All right, Scott, your turn.
All right, let's talk about Sinister's Molecular Control. A treachery that, when revealed, says give Mister Sinister a tough status card. If he has the brute trait, he heals 4 damage. I think this is awesome. It also has a boost, so it has 1 boost icon and a special boost effect, which is to give Mister Sinister a tough status card. Which, if you will remember, whenever he gets a status card, depending on what stage he's on, he either puts 1, 2, or 3 threat on the main scheme. So this is also basically has insight 1, 2, or 3,
Yeah.
even
Now-
as a boost.
If he's already tough, though, nothing happens at all, right? Because he can't
True.
have the second start card, so he doesn't even get the bonus.
Unless, well, no, that's true. That's true. Yes, I was thinking of stuns and confuses. No,
Yes,
you're right.
Steady doesn't
So,
do it. Yes, Steady doesn't affect tough.
it doesn't affect tough.
Right.
No, yeah. This is the odds of him sitting with a tough though are not super great. It is possible.
Yeah, even
But if he
so,
doesn't-
yeah, he's getting tough. He's adding threat to the main scheme. Maybe he's healing. Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I
All of
still don't
these- there's several
understand
of these.
the not healing multiple per player.
I'll never get that either.
I know.
Because there's only one copy of this card. It's not like there's a chance that all four of us will pull it.
Yeah, if at this point, if they haven't done heals per player, they're never going to do it, right?
No.
Nope.
No. Yeah. Okay. Maybe. I mean, I have heard people say, I play 4-player game. It takes too long. Maybe this is just their way to like, okay, we've heard that. Well, we don't want to drag it out that much. I don't know.
I
Well,
think
I
that
mean,
is a
play
good thought, actually.
Sabretooth.
Oh yeah. Okay, take it all back.
I don't know. I mean, I guess 4 can be kind of annoying. I this past weekend I played 3-player against Hood, and like we hit him for 18 in turn 1, and then 3 hours later we hit him for 18 total. So I don't know.
Yeah.
4 still feels like a kick in the gut.
Yep. Yep.
So
I mean, it's half
maybe-
a swinging web kick. Like, that's a pretty
Yeah.
decent amount.
I don't know about you guys. I always I look at my hand and I'm like, oh, I can win this turn. And then because I have exact amount of damage, and then
Yep.
I draw the heal and like, now I gotta go 2 more turns.
It's-
Yeah.
Like Magneto and Claw, that the game you played the other day.
Yes. All right. Guess there's another one, Daniel. There's another card.
there's 2 more, Steve. It's your turn.
Me? I just did genetic
Yes.
mastery, but all right. As long as you take the last one.
I will take the last one.
Okay. Sinister Schemes, which is a treachery. When revealed, Mister Sinister schemes. If he has the psionic trait, you are confused. It has a single boost with a special boost. You are confused. I see what's going on here.
Mm,
Playing off his superpower traits.
yeah.
Him scheming an extra time is good for Sinister. And then confusing the player is also good because that means they can't remove that threat that just went on. So,
Oof.
Yeah.
You do not
Yep.
want that. Great card.
Yep.
Great
It's
card.
brutal.
Well, let's finish this set. Let's round it out with the Sinister Strike, a treachery. When revealed an alter ego, Surge. When revealed hero, Mr. Sinister attacks you. And if he has the aerial trait, you're stunned. And a special boost and 1 boost icon, that special boost, you are stunned. There you have it. Simple, to the point, Sinister.
Fantastic.
One flaw.
Tell
Oh.
us.
The artwork. Sinister's not aerial. He's literally crouching on the ground.
That's true.
It's true.
But everyone else has gone aerial.
Oh, that's true.
He's
Okay.
made
yeah,
them aerial.
yeah, we got
Okay.
it.
Yep.
And to be clear, it says if he has the aerial trait. This is just one of those examples where he's striking when he doesn't.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Gotcha.
So all those
Yeah.
guys that are aerial, they're not stunned.
They're not stunned. They're fine.
They're just
They're not
just
stunned.
dead. Oh,
They're just dead. Exactly.
Oh, God.
okay.
You can't stun what's not there.
Wow. This
I do wish there were 2 copies of each of these.
Yeah.
I feel like his
Yeah.
deck is really short, and I wish there were 2 Sinister Schemes, 2 Sinister Strikes, and 2 Molecular Controls.
Yeah,
Right,
they
maybe that's
must.
just-
They kind of want you to get into the telepathy, super
Mhm.
strength, and whatever the last one is, flight.
Yeah.
I guess they want you to get into those cards, which are only 4. There's only 4 in each of those.
Right.
There's not a ton going on in his. Yeah, it's not a very thick set. So,
but it's a great set.
It is. It's a doozy.
This guy's not easy to deal with.
He's really fun.
No, but I think he is a fun boss.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he gets randomized abilities based on the side schemes. He has a bunch of neat interactions where you're checking different things. So think some of these cards towards the end are getting also sort of being randomized with the bonus is that he's getting. Low threat thresholds is kind of fun because he's advancing. You don't lose, but the villain is doing his thing, which is really cool. And if he makes it to stage 3, he's going after Hope Summers. So, because he's going to drain her genetic code. So you have to pay attention to that. That's maybe the only thing that's a little odd. Like you have to play with Hope. I don't know. Do you guys feel like
that's
having
true.
to use
It's
Hope
like,
is like an Infinity Gauntlet kind of thing? Like
kind of. It reminds me of
It
that.
is.
It reminds me of.
yeah. Now I think the difference here is he's always trying to gain mutant genes, and she's a Summers, and like that's like always part of his storyline. Where Loki and the Gauntlet was very specifically for Marvel Champions, so I think it's a little
Right.
less annoying, or a little less feels a little less out of theme.
And it's always nice to have multiple loss.
Yes, multiple loss
things.
conditions. That's always fun.
So
It's also not as finicky. The finicky part about this one is the 3 encounter sets. It's not Hope.
Right. Yeah, that's true. She's just an ally. You bounce back and forth around the first player.
Yeah.
Big deal. Yeah.
I know I like Sinister, and Sinister gave me the most trouble going through this solo, largely because of that low threat threshold. Like very within 3 rounds, he's all super powered up.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, last couple of weeks, or a couple of weeks ago, when researching it, I just wanted to play him again and do. I was playing solo on Octagon. I never came close to beating him solo.
So I did the same thing, right? Anytime we're going to talk about villains, I replay them as much as I can. And you have to prioritize that threat, I think, because if you can keep them on the first scheme, right? It starts at 1, it goes up by 2 per player. So you're automatically putting 3 out. You got to take care of whatever's going on, because more threat could be going on the main scheme if you're trying to stun him. So you're always splitting your attention. It's difficult to make progress against him if you're also trying to remove threat every single turn.
And he has a lot of hit points. Like,
it's tough to flip down because you got to confuse him, which means he put threat on the main scheme. Then you got to remove threat from the main scheme. Then you can flip down, and he might be having overkill, so you can't chump block as easily. So your damage is getting done, or he's dealing indirect damage to you with genetic mastery, and
I mean, that's partly why I say I just don't see how you do him in solo.
Yeah, it's doable, but it is tough. It's a challenge.
I'm sure it's doable, of course.
Yeah.
But but you got to be like one of these super nerds of this game.
You have to have some kind of on-demand threat reduction. If it's not thwarting cards, then it's your 2 thwart on your hero. At least something to help keep it down. When you have to realize that there's 3 cards in the deck that are just going to pass a scheme. They're gonna happen. Sinister schemes and the 2 advances, they're going to advance you. So don't let him advance any other way, because you've already got those in the deck.
Right.
He is one too that I think there's a urge to not stun or confuse him, because you don't want to put threat on the scheme. But when I have been successful, it's often because I would stun and then had an ally remove 2 threat, right? I then confused and an ally remove 2 threat. So like managing the threat in little increments, but a lot of our cards also don't really do that. Our big thwarters, they want to remove, 6 threat. And it's like, well, if you're in solo, it pops at 5. So you really are like you want to have lots of little bits of threat removal. So certainly something that relies on a lot of allies is more successful in my experience. But it really does matter what superpower you get early on. Like you were saying, if you get, steady because he's a brute, like that might change your game plan. Or if he has the retaliate, well, now your allies can't attack, so maybe you can use them to manage threat, but you can't do other stuff. But he also has overkill, so you can't chump block. Like it's really dynamic. You can't just come in going, oh, I'm going to be able to do this thing, because depending on what you get, you might not, which I love. I think that's fantastic. You really have to build a well-rounded deck to approach tackling Mister Sinister.
The sequence of the hero actions maybe are more important. Like you're saying,
definitely.
I'm going to remove a couple threat with Hope, then I'm going to stun him, then I'm going to remove another threat. You have to,
then I'm going to use my hero to remove some threat. Yeah, you really do. You have to pay a lot of attention to your order and what cards you have and what order you want to play them in and stuff. So he's going to make you think, which is that's on brand.
Unless you just watch Steve play on Tuesday, where they retcon entire turns just to make it work out.
No, we don't.
Whatever.
No, we do not.
Timing does not matter. Whatever. You're like, if I saw it this way, I just would have done this, and this. That's how we play this game. Everybody plays it that way.
Occasionally that happens, in order to I try not to do that solo because you have more time to plot it out and think ahead. And if you're like just running a stream, you're just trying to make it through before it's 2 a.m.
And you're trying to be
provide-
entertaining and not just sit there for an hour. And
Yeah, while you do the math.
dead air.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Apologize your choices. That's fine.
Real fans would let people sit there for an hour.
I'm going to remind you of that on Monday Night Twitch.
That's right.
Oh, please do. Although, Mike, if you run the tape, I'm not the one who takes back his turns most.
Woo. Okay.
Wow, gauntlet throw.
Them's is fighting
Now,
words.
I'm not naming names. I'm not saying who I think it is, but it is you, Mike.
Wow.
Well, I know it's not me. I never get invited on there. Favors.
Wow. We invite him on every week, and he says, "I'm sorry, I'm too busy. I'm washing my hair."
Yeah, I'm still working on it. If once I find it, I can wash it. So
Wow.
Okay, there's something for Craig.
What
What were we talking about?
all right, so let's talk.
Wait.
Let's rate Sinister.
Let's grade
then.
this thing. Oh, Sinister's an A, man. A plus.
Yeah, he's an A. I like him a lot.
Absolutely. A plus.
Because of all the things Scott said, just about the variety of experience you have as a player against him. Absolutely.
I do not disagree. I think we're all on board. He's a wonderful villain to play in Marvel Champions. Maybe not so nice a guy, but yeah.
No.
He's wonderfully villainous.
Yes.
Notice he was not invited to Fool's Giving.
No,
That's
he was
true.
not. He was not.
He would have done weirder stuff to the turkey than that Butler guy did.
He would have. He would not have limited himself to just the turkey.
No.
All right. Well,
If folks want to tell us what they do to their turkey.
nope.
If-
Wow.
Well, Mike,
Nope,
it's your
nope, not
turn.
that
Take
one.
us out, Mike.
Say something else, Daniel.
What genetic trait would you like? Email us at criticalencounterspod@gmail.com. We are Critical Encounters on Facebook, and you can find our YouTube, Twitch, or Patreon by searching for Critical Encounters Podcast. And on Discord, we are Vardane, Big Foam Loaf, Wandering Took, and joining us tonight is our special guest, Lexicon.
It's me.
If you like our show, tell your friends. If you don't like our show, tell your enemies. Sinister, take us out.
You poor little thing. You didn't understand at all. Sinister is a system. And rebels against the system are also part of the system. Rebels are the system testing itself. If the system cannot withstand the challenge to the status quo, the system is overturned. And so, reinvented. You little anarchists are just playing your part like everyone else. A part that's sadly over. Can I just go on villains randomly?
Well, isn't that a great question?
Type.
I think it is.
Google. Marvel CBD.
It takes more than bullets or a harlot's kiss to kill Nathaniel Essex.
Is he referring to Rogue there?
I don't know, but I almost did a spit take. I was drinking on that horn. Oh, my God.